Hello everyone, and welcome to another game of World of Warships. Today's replay is from Rook, and he's in the Neptune, a tier 9 British cruiser. He's on the map Islands of Ice, and well, it's a 3-point domination game. There is one Buffalo for radar. Well, there's also black, I suppose, so 2 raiders. There is no carrier. And well, he decided to go towards the sea captain first. Now be warned, this replay involves a lot of luck. So, yeah. Now, he has chosen a very aggressive approach. He's going towards the center island. That can work, but he's getting spotted on his way in. And that's a bit of a problem. That Iowa probably has shots at. We don't know anything, right? Except for maybe that Iowa. Of the Edinburgh. So,
smoke generator
there could be a lot of battleships here. And getting spotted in the open in a Neptune is usually... Now, he decided to slow down and smoke. That's... well, I mean, if there are a few battleships here, you probably do. The problem is, if you slow down, you're a very easy target to hit, and it takes a bit of time to disappear into smoke. So what you can do to avoid that is... And he's getting rid of it, because, well, there is a black. Now, he wasn't getting shot that hard while he was spotted earlier, so maybe he will still be fine. But once again, caught in your radar, and even worse, like those torpedoes prevent him from hugging the island. So I'd say, like, caught in a situation like that, 9 times out of 10 you're dead. Because all it takes is like 1 or 2 battleships there that get a good hit on you. And it's... But he survived the radar. But what I was saying earlier, right? When you are early on in the battle, like you want to go to a position like behind this island, oh crap, there is another radar. Well, but he isn't currently radared. It's entirely possible that they didn't coordinate their radar and they just raided at the same time. And I kind of keep getting interrupted. So what I wanted to say is, when you go towards a position like you approach an island and you're afraid of getting spotted on the way, then as soon as you're getting close enough that you feel like an enemy destroyer can see you, you just reduce to half speed, and then you can drop it to smoke the moment you are concealed. Basically, you just immediately like go to 0, deploy your smoke, you should be fine. But if you're going full speed, it takes too long to slow down. All enemy ships will have time to aim their guns at you, and if you're like the first spotted, because that's usually what happens if you go in an aggressive position early on, then everybody will shoot you and you can't survive that. Another thing is, like, if you're going towards an island, then instead of dropping into smoke, you can just like run for it. Like in his case, he could have tried just to keep going towards the island. But you know, so far everything worked, but I would argue that it was a tremendous amount of luck, because he was in 2 situations that he probably wouldn't have survived normally. One is slowing down and just smoking up in the open while detected, and the other one was getting raided inside the smoke without cover. So now he's trying to torp this battleship. There could still be a raider. Like, I mean, a Buffalo probably would have raided if it was ready, but it will be ready again. Now, what I would have done if I'd gone to the center island is probably be like closer to the big island early on. The advantage of being at the center island is that you can hydro a lot in this cap and maybe flush out an enemy destroyer, but you gotta own there is hydro. Well, smoke isn't going to help if you're hydroed. It prevents him from spotting the enemy, so it's worse. So that might have been a panic smoke because it was detected. It happens, but it was very bad because it prevents him from spotting the enemy. Not to mention that there is a battleship like this, and I'm assuming the battleship just didn't... Maybe it was reloading, maybe his guns were pointing the wrong way, but drifting around this corner in front of a battleship so close usually gets you killed. But in this case, you know, the battleship got devastating struck. So this is a mistake. Now that Hydra would have caught me by surprise too, because it's not something you expect to see on a Buffalo usually. What I would have expected though is a radar. But you know, now he's hydroing back, and that's like, I mean, the friendly team is here reinforced at Buffalo. Well, that's one dead Buffalo. And now we have New Orleans. Now, he is angling away here. You can't really stay broadside to anything in a Minotaur. Like, if this enemy Buffalo was prepared with armor piercing loaded, then he would have lost a lot of hit points. He probably would have sunk the Buffalo before he went down. If the New Orleans and the Buffalo would have waited with armor piercing loaded, then it might just have been his demise. Now, I guess he's hoping that the New Orleans sails into the... I mean... I don't think I would go with single spread here. Like, the New Orleans is too far away to top, right? And he's most likely sailing. I mean, it's possible that he's coming closer. I think the highest possibility of topping something here would be the black if it returned. And he's sailing here. But, you know... Oh, well... The enemy destroyer that's deployed the smoke, I guess. But you know, I was thinking, like, I wouldn't have gone for single spread, because if you are blind topping, I mean, you know, the New Orleans was too far away, like, indication line didn't matter that much. So if you're more blind topping, hoping the enemy sails into it, going with the small spread covers a larger area and will much more likely succeed. So, the friendly team is 2 ships ahead, and the enemy team has 2 cap zones. So, looking good for the friendlies, but they have to push at P at some point. There is only destroyers here in the south. Like, for when you look at the friendly battleships here, there is no point in hunting a destroyer if you're in a battleship. It's... unless the enemy destroyer makes a horrible mistake, there's nothing you can do. Especially if you don't even have tools like Hydro. So those ships, they all need to go towards the P-cap. It's a bit sad that most battleships here went so far towards the 10 line. I mean, they could have just pushed into a more aggressive position, and then they would be better positioned to help B now. But you know, overall it's still looking good. And as long as the team doesn't waste too much time here and just goes together as a team towards the center, they are all fine. So we've got some random torps going on there. I mean, there is a high chance that something is around here. There is still a black that we have no idea where it's about currently. And he might just be sailing the area. So the enemy team also still has a Missouri with radar, by the way. We don't know where the Missouri is. He might just be coming towards the B-cap though. So that's something to think about. Like, in the British cruisers, you are very reliant on either islands or your smoke because you're so squishy. I usually describe those cruisers as a citadel wrapped in paper. And I do love my Minotaur a lot. But you really gotta be careful. Those ships can be rather strong in the right positions, but if you get caught out in wrong positioning, you're just dead usually. So he's using his Hydro here. I mean, he's currently not detected, but you know, I mean, there's an Edinburgh who has torps, for example. We still don't know where the black is. The Ibuki has torps, the Neptune has torps. There's a lot of potential torping. And we still don't know exactly where the Missouri is. So there is a Benham here smoking. He could just use that. He has his own smoke ready too, if it's needed.
Generator activated.
And there you go. Is deploying his smoke, although he's going too fast to actually use his smoke here, so...
Smoke screen set.
Well, I mean, he can just go back to it. I'm not exactly sure right now what his plan is. Like, you don't really want to sail in front of a Jean-Bart and Nelson's guns. And there isn't much cover here. So he's detected now. I mean, the Jean-Bart is almost down, but the Nelson is not. And the Nelson does have shots at him, and oh, it's worse than Missouri. Now, of course, we now know that with a Missouri here, smoking up wouldn't have worked much. So he's trying to top the Missouri. But in a situation like this, you know, 9 times out of 10, you're just dead. He's in front of the Missouri guns, he was in front of the Nelson's guns, and he was, at least for a brief period, in front of the French's guns. But, you know, they're just not shooting him, it looks like, because they were unprepared for his arrival. And he just torped himself the battleship.
Torpedoes to starboard.
Now there is no longer radar. Not that it matters, I suppose. Like, the friendlies are pretty much dominating at this point, and the enemy team will be hard pressed to make any sort of comeback here. Of course, now is the time when people usually get careless and just try to win harder and might be throwing it. Although he will also be hard pressed to take any more risks than he has done so far. And RNG has been a shield this game for sure. And I found this so far rather amusing. But you know, we are not done here yet. Now this cap gets taken. And now there are still 2 enemy destroyers around, who for some reason have been staying far. Well, I guess it's the Alaska, right? Usually you can imagine around any raider ship, you can imagine like a circle that's as big as the raider, and that's an area that you don't really want to frequent, or only the outskirts. If you look at the Alaska, there is a big bubble here that the destroyers try to stay out of, I have a feeling. Which is understandable, because, you know, getting raided might lead to your demise, unless you can find cover or leave the raider. Oh, look at that, this Neptune isn't even moving. Well, I guess the Neptune is surviving longer than expected, but this is basically, well, you'd usually expect the ship to sink a little bit faster, but that's what happens to Neptune that get caught out.
Victory is in sight.
In the open. Or, well, in any form detected in the open. And it looks like the enemy team just melted away. But, you know, there are destroyers left. And it looks like the enemy destroyer decided, you know what, maybe I gotta take a risk at this point. And just start gunning. Of course, this is where Neptune comes in. British cruisers just melt destroyers. Well, unless the destroyers aim too much, I suppose. But yeah, British are pretty good at farming DDs. And that's one less. And look, we've got another one. So I guess the Black saw what happened to his comrade. Well, maybe comrade is the wrong word. But you know, his teammate, and he decided, you know what? Could happen to me too. So let's do that. I don't know, I mean, it doesn't matter at this point. The Black is the only ship remaining, so can they sink the Black, or will they reach 1,000 points first? We will find out. And there's a Confederate. Black tries to go into concealment. Oh no, he's firing again. I mean, it's... Oh, the Black did manage to burn down Ignition now and prolong the game, but he goes down and the Kraken's unleashed. Here we are with the results. Rook earned himself 2,542 base experience, and that's certainly a nice result, but honestly I think he should have probably been sunk at least 4 times this game. So I would advise you guys to play your Brits a little bit more careful, and always have an exit strategy. Be aware what can happen if you get spotted on the approach. Make sure you have islands to hide behind in case of raiders, or stay far enough away that they are under threat. And yeah, I still found this battle amusing. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.